Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about The Flash, episode 701, titled All's Well That Ends Well, which premiered Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021 on the CW. It's been a while, guys, but let's just dive right in. So, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. I am recording, roughly an hour and 10 minutes after the episode is aired, because I also watched Superman and Lois right after The Flash, so that's why I'm not recording immediately after the episode. But yeah, let's just get right into it with what happened in this episode. It has been a while, guys. So originally this episode was meant to be episode 620 before the pandemic delayed everything. So that is why we're still trying to tie up some of the loose ends of season 6. We still have Eva McCulloch being an issue. We still have Iris stuck in the Mirrorverse. We still have Barry not at full capacity for his speed. So we're still picking up with all that stuff. So timeline-wise, because of that, I actually don't know how long it's been since 619, but I'm under the impression it's been at least weeks, because Chester kind of said he's been practicing this for weeks, and this being an assumption of like running the control room kind of a thing in Star Labs. We also have Barry waking up from cryo sleep from the looks of it to kind of preserve his speed, since he's only down to 1% left, which I don't think he was that low in 619. Plus, also, we have to remember, I'm thinking it's been a few weeks, just because naturally, if the pandemic hadn't been an issue, we would have had episode 619 air, then we probably would have had a week or two of a hiatus break, like normally what would happen when the episode normally airs, and then we would have came back with 620, 21, and 22 for that final push in May. So we don't really get that this time, so that's why I'm thinking it's been a week instead of us just picking up right back. Plus, also in the Mirrorverse, it was mentioned that Iris has been there for a couple of weeks, but I don't know if that's in reference to like her in total. She's been in there, which makes sense, or if it's like she's been trying to find Singing Camilla for the last few weeks. So I'm not sure, but that's where I'm leaning towards when it comes to the timeline. Episode reminder. Well, originally, All's Well That Ends Well, because of the fact that we're kind of referencing wells in the title, I kind of assumed we're going to have some focus on it, but after watching the episode, oh my god, yes, that's why. I'm not going to touch on it just yet. But yeah, that's the huge reference. The villain of the episode, I guess you can kind of say, is Eva McCulloch on like a grander scale, because she does have her hands in a bunch of the storylines in this episode, but then also you kind of have Rosalind Dillon returning as the top, which she's kind of in cahoots with, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But let's get right into episode storylines or breakdowns. I picked up on 3. First one is charging of the artificial speed force. 2 is the black hole massacre or hunt, whatever you want to call it. And then 3, dealing with the Mirrorverse. So the first storyline with charging the artificial speed force, as I said before, Barry's only down to 1% left, and we get the Council of Wells's who are all residing in Nash Wells after the whole collapse of the multiverse. But the Council of Wellses have the idea to use their power to use their multiverse energy to charge the artificial speed force, but that means they need Nash to act as the organic receptor that connects them to the machine, and in doing so, that would also sacrifice Nash, so there's no more Wellses. Nash, not ready to die, has an alternate plan that ultimately fails and ends up putting the Council of Wellses inside of Barry's body, but that puts Barry's life in jeopardy because his body's not meant to withstand all of that. And it's put in danger because now his speed healing is trying to keep him alive with all these infinite number of Wells brainwaves inside of him, but using the speed healing means he's reducing that 1% level of speed. Which does have me peg the question of, did they explain why Nash was able to have all these brainwaves residing in him without any ramifications like Barry is dealing with? Because if anything, I would think Barry would be able to handle it because of speed healing. Forget the fact that he's depleting his speed right now, but the idea that Barry should be able to handle all these multiple brainwaves because his body has speed healing should mean that he should be able to survive it more so than Nash, and yet Nash doesn't experience that issue and he has no speed healing. So I'm a little confused there. Maybe they explained it before we went on a huge hiatus break. But anyways, in the end, Nash makes the decision to actually become the organic receptor and make the sacrifice to help power the artificial speed force, which allowed for Barry to get his speed back. So essentially, Nash agreed with the whole Council of Wellses to sacrifice themselves to ensure that Barry lived and continued being the Flash. That's why it's a huge episode reminder, because not only do we get the Council of Wellses, but because we do get the death of the multitude of Wellses. And we'll talk about that later. Second storyline is dealing with Black Hole. So pretty much Eva in this episode is trying to, in the previous episode, she killed Joseph Carver. Now she's trying to either end or kill off any ounce of his black hole organization, killing anybody that gets in her way, trying to take, I think she's trying to take all the tech that he kind of stole from her, kind of a thing. But she does kill Mirror Master, who we learn was actually Eva's first creation. So it wasn't just some fluke that he became Mirror Master. Don't know how that happened. But then she also secretly recruited his girlfriend, the Top, aka Rosalind Dillon, and Cecile finds this out because she actually acts as Rosalind's defense lawyer, and since they're both empaths, to kind of get a little bit of a power show off, Rosalind really showing what she can do with her manipulations, and then Cecile having to take that fear she has over her power and push it back outwards and take control of it and use it against Rosalind, where she find out that there's this huge bombing that Eva wanted on the Black Hole organization's jet, and if it went off, it would have went over the city, and a lot of people would have died from the collateral damage from the explosion. That's my assumption, anyways, of why it was a major deal. So anyways, because Barry got his speed back, he was able to stop the explosion in time and save the jet, which was put into Argus custody once it landed. So yay, Team Flash. Then we go to the Mirrorverse. So the Mirrorverse, again, it's Iris thinking that she's losing her reality the longer she stays in the Mirrorverse. She deals with these other versions of Iris that we've seen, that she's seen while she's there. And she discovers that these other Irises are actually not pieces of her fragmented mind, but it's Eva's distractions and manipulations in the Mirrorverse to keep Iris preoccupied, because Iris is actually getting close to finding a way to escape, or at least that's my understanding. But in the end of the episode, she ended up sending a backwards email, and I assume it went through to the real world because you got that weird little rippling effect on the computer screen. And I still find it really weird when all the like words and stuff in that world are all backwards and like actually look like you'll be looking in a mirror. It's just like, wow. No wonder you get a headache trying to figure out what you're trying to write and stuff. But anyway, so that's what's happening with Iris. She looks like she's getting closer. Now, the last moments of the episode show Eva realizing that she is the mirror duplicate and not the original, like she thought she was for the last 6 years, because she saw through a video that when the particle accelerator exploded, her body collided in the mirror, and then instead of getting sucked into the mirror like she originally thought and getting trapped there, she actually rebounded still in her reality, and Joseph Carver had to deal with her dead body. So that's kind of how now she's saying, like, everything I thought was like completely wrong, kind of thing. I don't know what that revelation is going to do to her, though. Like, would that make her stop what she's been trying to do all this time? Like, what is it she was actually trying to do to begin with? Like, you know what I mean? Anyways, but let's move into tidbits. So, Caitlin was mentioned to still be with her mother, Carla, for testing, as you remember before, I think, if I remember correctly. Frost was having issues with healing from one of the injuries she acquired from one of the black hole meta-assassins. So she was going to go to Carla to help recuperate. Also, this was done because Danielle was pregnant at the time, but COVID kind of escalated that storyline for her. And so she was just only away for this episode, but she was mentioned. Cisco was away on a trip for this episode, so he wasn't actually present, but he was referenced as well. But I don't know if they mentioned why he was going on a trip or where he was going in 619 or not. I really don't remember, but they did reference that he'd want to cut his trip short because of what happened with Wells, so we'll get to that in a moment. We also found out that Sue Dearborn is still being framed for the death of Joseph Carver, all because Eva manipulated things to be as such. And because of this, Sue and Ralph have gone off the grid together, which is why they are mentioned and not seen, especially after the whole deal with what happened with Ralph or Hartley Sawyer over the pandemic break. That also has me questioning whether or not this is what would have happened in the storyline if things would have been different, but we'll never know. But that's how they're handling it now. So there's that. Also, Camilla and Singh are both mentioned and to still be in the Mirrorverse, but they're not shown. But Iris does mention them, knowing that she's trying hard to try to find them. So there's that. I also forgot to mention that we get Chester and Allegra being a lot more present because they're the part of the Team Flash, kind of making up for the absence of Caitlin and Cisco. Also, we do get Gideon, or a version of Gideon, I should say, kind of making a diagnosis over Barry when the brainwaves were overwhelming for him. So there's that. But moving on to the most shocking moment of the episode. Nash died. Not only Nash, but the Council of Wellses are now gone. So I'm like shocked. So that's something there. But moving on to, we'll talk about later. But top 3 favorite moments. First off, literally, Barry in the Flash suit. And he puts the mask on. Not just the quick, like, using the speed to put the mask on. No, the mask materializes over his face. And I'm immediately reminded of the MCU, of Spider-Man, of Iron Man, of Ant-Man, everyone who has a super suit in the Marvel Universe, and they have the helmet, and it's not just them taking the helmet off, but it's actually like disintegrating, and you just push a button and the helmet's gone. It's like Barry's mask doing that. I'm like, oh yes, finally. It also had me a little bit reminded of the way that Kara's suit was working in season 5, where I think it was like the nanotech that Lena created. Was it? I don't remember. Or was it Brainy? I think it's Brainy. But it's when like it kind of like grew over her skin instead of like the quick change kind of a thing. Oh, the mask coming out. Chef's kiss right there. That was like gorgeous. It only took us 6 years to get to that point. But I guess we always assumed that Barry's fast speed, like he would just whip that mask on without an issue. But kind of can't use that speed when you don't have it to just put a mask on, you know? So anyways, that quick little moment, it's like, what, a few seconds? Perfect. Favorite moment right there. One of them, I should say. Next favorite moment was just the Council of Wellses. I mean, we had Nash talking to Harry, Sherlock, HR, and then a new Wells was introduced. I think he took on the form of an actor, and which was fun. So seeing them and how we saw them was pretty great because we actually got to see all of them. It's also pretty cool. Okay, if you've watched any of my videos for any of my shows, whenever an actor has to play opposite themselves in like a twinning moment or something, I always find that so cool because on a technical standpoint, that is hard to do. So the fact that Tom Cavanaugh not only did it between 2 of his characters, he did it between 5 of his characters. Nash, Harry, Sherlock, HR, and actor Wells. That was like, that's hard. And they were interacting with each other. And it's just like, that impresses me so much whenever we get the Council of Wellses like that. And then we also, which was funny, was that we got the Council of Wellses stuck in Barry. So now we're getting Harry and Sherlock and HR and Wells the Gray, the Wizard Wells, all coming through Barry. And he has to play all these different personas and stuff. It was just like, it was hilarious, but I could only assume that must have been so much fun for Grant to do. It was also a clever, because it's another thing too, I guess I could tie it into now, because also it's another thing that Iris had to deal with multiple different versions of herself during the Mirrorverse. And it was like, again, it's her acting against herself, which is, again, something hard to do. So I thought it was pretty clever because not only did it make sense in the storyline with her being stuck in the Mirrorverse, but it also kind of helps them out in regards to this whole COVID situation and them having different regulations, and why in the scene we see only specific people interacting with each other. Not many people are cross acting in different scenes. Like with Cecile, she only interacted with Barry, Joe, and Rosalind. Joe really only spoke with Cecile and Barry, and then like Iris really only dealt with Iris and then Barry in that one opening scene, and then Eva, it was only with Barry, but then even then they were in like a farther distance, right? So it was very interesting to see them not only use the multiple irises as a way to continue the story, but still not make it noticeable that things had to change due to COVID. Just like how with the Council of Wellses, it was the exact same thing, because all they really had to worry about is just repositioning Tom Cavanaugh in all these different scenes instead of having 5 other people in the scene with him, kind of a thing. So it was very interesting, and it's very well, it's not even well planned, because this is an idea they had before COVID was even an issue. So I'm glad that they kept it, and I'm glad that it worked given all the regulations being put in place, because that's also reasons why like maybe we didn't see other characters making cameos, because it just would have been too much to bring them on set for only one scene, you know? And I'm rambling again, but anyways, those are my favorites. We got the new Flash mask appearing the way it did. We got the Council of Wellses. We got a little bit of Barry acting like each of the Wellses. And then the multiple irises, which is pretty cool too. But top 3 peeved moments. Nash sacrificing himself. First off, that's great character growth automatically, and I understand why. But it's a peeve because the fact that he died, and at the way things are looking right now, I'm not going to get any more Welleses, and I've been guaranteed a Wells in each season, you know? So it was just a peeve that way, but then I guess the underlying peeve behind it is that Nash died when Caitlin and Cisco were not there to say goodbye. And even Barry said it himself that Cisco saw Harry as a father figure. And the fact that Cisco wasn't there to get an actual goodbye from Harry breaks my heart and makes it a peeve for me. Because it's another favorite I forgot to mention was the fact that it's kind of tied in with the whole Council of Wellses, but the fact that each one of them came out to say their own goodbyes to Barry before they all got sucked into the artificial speed force, that was beautiful. The reason it's tainted for me is because Cisco and Caitlin were not there also to say goodbye to any of the versions of the Welleses. But Cisco particularly has a strong bond to pretty much all the Welleses that we've had to deal with, right? So it just felt wrong that he wasn't there to be a part of that goodbye. And that's why it was a peep. Otherwise, it would have been a beautiful moment, a beautiful send-off for the multitude of characters that we got. But the fact that they're gone, first off, is a peep because I love it. And I just wanted to see what other version of Wells we would get next. But the fact that a lot of characters who had strong bonds with the Welleses weren't there, it felt wrong in a way. I understand why they couldn't be there, but again, it still felt wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but there's that. But moving on to random questions very quickly, and it's pertaining to Welleses. Is that it for Tom Cavanaugh? Are we getting no more Welleses? I'd be very worried if this actually aired at 6:20, and I'm wondering, well, is that it? Or like, what, like, is that, like, I don't know. But then also for season 7, Tom Cavanaugh is still listed as a series regular. So that's why I don't know. Plus also there's the issue of him being the Reverse Flash too, but I don't know if that means like that's the only version of the Wells. But wait, did the Reverse Flash also get sucked into the Council of Wellses inside Nash, if I remember correctly? Because wasn't that a whole issue too, that Wells was being haunted by the spirit, quote unquote, of Eobard Thawne? I really don't know. It's been so long. So that's a question there. And another question, it's more of a curiosity, really. It's just I'm kind of curious as to know how much they changed for the original 3 episodes meant for season 6, and how much they changed it to make it fit with the season 7 plan that they had. Because as we know, the pandemic stopped production back in March, and they didn't start filming until October. So that's a lot of months that they could have rewritten and reworked a lot of things. So I'm just wondering how much actually changed to what was originally supposed to happen and what wasn't. I know we're never going to know, but me, because I'm a screenwriter and development is a huge thing when it comes to being a writer, especially for a TV show, and I've had to go through a bunch of rewrites for my own stuff, and seeing the progression of like where I started and to where it ended, it's like some things are just so hugely different. I'm kind of curious to know like what are those changes that they had to deal with to accommodate for the fact that they had this delay and the fact that they had a pandemic to keep in mind. So that's just my own curiosity right there. But let's move on to predictions very quickly. Based off the promo for 702, it looks like Cisco and Caitlyn are back. I guess Caitlyn, I should say Frost. I don't know if it's going to be Frost in the driver's seat, or if it's going to be a mix between the two. But we did see the Frost in her costume, though, in the promo. So there's that. We see Allegra getting the message that Iris had sent out at the end in that backwards email. I'm assuming it's that message that got through, but she references the fact that she got a missive from Iris. And then it looks like Team Flash tries to open a portal to the Mirrorverse. Wonder how they're going to do that. I guess we'll find out. But based off of the synopsis for the episode, it reads that Barry gains a new skill. Now wait for it. When Barry suddenly gains the power of speed thinking, he attempts to use his new gift to save Iris. While Barry is thrilled with his new power, Cisco is hesitant to trust it. Meanwhile, Eva must face a shattering truth. When I read that, first off, I'm thinking, where the fuck was this speed thinking when they were dealing with the Thinker in season 4? I mean, wasn't that the whole thing, that the Thinker was supposed to outthink the Flash? Like, it was supposed to be super intelligence or something against super speed. And then now you're telling me Barry has that skill now? I mean, like, granted, I always assumed that Barry had a faster mind to keep up with his body, because there are times where we saw him speed reading a bunch of stuff. In order to speed read, you have to be able to keep up with all that, right? So I assume that he processed things a lot faster. And then same when he came out of the Speed Force at the beginning of season 4, he like pretty much speed watched through everything to catch up on like the months of TV that he missed. Again, I assumed that he had a faster mind to be able to process all that speedy information that he was dealing with. But so then what makes that different from the speed thinking that he's suddenly gaining? I don't know. Plus, now I'm wondering, is he getting this new skill because his powers are naturally growing, or is he getting it because of the artificial speed force, and he's somehow maybe getting the intelligence of the Council of Wellses, since they kind of merged their power into the artificial speed force as a power supply? I don't know, maybe. But we'll have to wait and see about that. But happy news though, during the hiatus, which is so on February 3rd, 2021, we got The Flash being renewed for season 8. Now, normally we don't hear about renewals before the current season is actually aired, but considering February would have been around the proper time that the CW renewed its lineup, it made sense. Plus, I guess they weren't going to let the pandemic stop them from renewing their lineups. So that's happy news there before we even got this season. So that's a happy thought there. I don't know, though, if season 7 is meant to have its traditional 22 episodes, or if maybe they're shortening it down because of the pandemic. I have to research maybe and see if I put anything up screen if I found it. But the next 2 episodes are going to be ending any of the season 6 storylines, and then episode 4 is meant to truly be solely season 7 focused. So that's going to be exciting there. I'm thinking just currently right now, plans for how often I'm doing the Flash videos. As of right now, because I am I'm literally in my final month of my screenwriting program, which is a lot of deadlines really. I'm thinking I'm gonna put episodes 2 and 3 together, because they do deal with the season 6 storylines. And then I'll start fresh with 704. And we'll see where my workload takes me there. So that is going to be the plan for now. And that's also going to be it. So what did you guys think of this premiere? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I reblog, promos, web clips, quotes, GIFs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I am behind on updating it. Schoolwork has been kicking my butt lately, but in the best way possible. But yeah, just be aware of that. I'm hoping to update it when I get an actual break at the end of my semester, before I jump into my new program afterwards. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that and be mindful of that. I got all the notes I need to post saved, so it's just going to be a massive day of uploads. And also, WordPress, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress. Again, same thing. I usually only update WordPress the same day I update Tumblr, because Tumblr usually gets new tags and then I gotta add them, and like that's a whole array of things to do there. But just be aware of that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. In the meantime, as you wait for the next Flash episode, I did do a review about Superman and Lois, the premiere, and then I'm thinking of doing one maybe halfway through the season and then the finale. Again, depending on my schedule, but as I'm recording this right now, talking to you, it's actually rendering the Superman and Lois. My week got very busy to the point that I couldn't get to it until today. So hope you check that out. See what I have to say about that. Pilot was actually, well, I'm still watching the show, so that should be telling you enough there. But otherwise, yeah, I'm going to end it there, guys. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back next week to see, or just come back to my channel to see what I have to say, whether it's The Flash or Legacies or later on for Superman and Lois. Click the notification bell if you want to be kept in the loop that way. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. Please stay safe during this pandemic. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and until next time, bye for now.